Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be doing our 2,000 subscriber special. As you can tell, I am very late on this, just like I was with the 1,000 subscriber special, and you guys are just too damn quick. I now have to make a 3,000 subscriber special. I don't even know. Like, I need to offload some of my editing because that's what's taking so long. And especially for this video, I imagine it's going to be pretty editing intensive. We are going to be covering SCPs. Now, for anybody who isn't serially online, let me just explain what SCPs are to you. Similar to creepypastas and like scary stories on the internet, the SCP corner of the internet is the largest collective writing group ever. I do mean that. SCP is the greatest conglomerate of authors to write stories for. To give you like a brief rundown of what SCPs are, SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. It is basically a writing project where we write from the standpoint as like researchers for a shadowy corporation, government agency, that their whole purpose is to contain and sometimes eliminate special phenomena. What I mean by special phenomena, I mean everything from demons, angels, eldritch gods to the god, and every once in a while, a supernatural coffee machine. I shit you not. There is an SCP. It is just a coffee machine that never runs out of coffee. Sometimes they're dumb, and I'll be real with you. We are going to be covering the most popular, the ones that, if you're getting into SCP, these are probably going to be the stuff that gets you into it. But there are thousands of different entries into this, and if you want to get into it, I actually recommend checking out another channel that I used as a break-off point to get into this, and that channel is going to be SCP Explained. Probably the greatest source of knowledge going into this, outside of maybe a few other people on the internet, which is saying a lot. And they definitely helped me a lot with the research with this video. So if you like my type of content and you aren't subscribed to them already, give them a subscribe. It would mean the absolute most to them and also to me, because I want more people to get involved in SCP. As far as knowledge that you should know beforehand, I mean, I think I kind of gave you everything. This is an agency that contains monsters. And here's are some of the best ones that they have contained. And there you go. That's how we're going to get into. The whole criteria for this tier list is as simple as, how much do I like them? How much do I like this story? Do I think it's fun? Would I recommend this to somebody who's new to the SCP fandom? Number one, we're doing SCP-049, The Plague Doctor. The Plague Doctor is one of the most popular, and I do believe did feature in a few of the SCP games that came out a couple years ago. His whole stick... Bro's a plague doctor. Now, they aren't exactly sure how old this guy is, although the story of them being able to find this guy, so they heard some complaints of people going missing in a small town, and they tracked him down to a little rundown building. They go in. The best way they have found to describe it is a floor of bodies of people that were either dead and resurrected, or just catatonic, with this plague doctor figure standing over them like he just got done operating on him. And that's most likely what he did, because when they were able to capture him, and capturing him is not the difficult part, because he seems like a normal dude in just like a plague doctor uniform, like that weird-ass bird mask, right? Well, when they took him into custody, 100% Bro has some supernatural abilities. He came in willing, and almost like how they described as he wanted to be caught. When he was in containment, however, he requested that they give him, like, certain specimens, animals, gorillas, people. In this universe, they call them D-class, people that can easily be disappeared by the government. And what he would do is by just one touch of his hand, they will die. Like, similar to like a Rick and Morty episode, it's just instantaneous death if you touch him. That is part one of his powers. Part two, they aren't even really sure if he's human, because when they did some like x-rays, some actual testing on him, they found that the plague doctor outfit that he's wearing is his actual skin. The black robe that he has is some type of hair that is also ballistic resistant. And let me just say this, okay? One thing that I do not like about the SCP, the wiki fandom, is literally everything found a way to be bulletproof. Like, they're either bulletproof or have regeneration. And I get it, why you had to do it. But for the Plague Doctor, what do you mean? The black fur that he has, or the black cloak that he has, is also ballistic resistant. Like, how many things can be ballistic resistant? And the mask that he's wearing is actually just bone and cartilage. That's kind of a cool idea. Like, imagine, like, you're looking at this thing. He's got those blood-sod eyes, and you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, okay, he's wearing, like, a mask, right? Right? No, that's just straight bone, dude. Now, how they describe talking to this guy is, genius-level intellect, and he knows more about medicine than any other person they have brought in this, that is like a doctor in their study. This man practically wrote the book on it. According to him, he's been around for thousands of years, and his sole purpose is to eradicate the pestilence. It is still unclear what the fuck the pestilence is. However, my theory is it's free will, because a weird thing that the Plague Doctor does is when he kills you with his finger tuts of death, he will reanimate you, and you basically become a raid zombie. But he also can turn you into basically a lobotomized human that's forever catatonic, and you just do stuff for him. If I have a theory, I do believe the Plague Doctor, the pestilence that he's trying to eradicate, is free will, because that does make sense with the type of powers that he has. Also has a journal that they believe is bound with human skin. And when he's, all of his writings, when they've been able to get his journal from him, and first off, he doesn't even guard his journal. He'll just give you the shit because he knows you're not going to be able to figure it out. It is written in no known language, no cartographer, nobody has been able to decipher his little journal of medical wisdom, which is kind of fun in a story element, and overall I kind of like the Plague Doctor. I think my favorite story about him, though, is you find out bro's just kind of racist. Like, imagine this, you're reading this story and you're like, man, this guy's kind of a bad news. He delves into like deep philosophical beliefs, like free will is the catalyst of all death and murder in this world. Like deep stuff, right? And then a black doctor comes in, and bro with absolutely zero chill looks at him and says, yeah, I'm gonna need some of your relatives to be my test subject. And this dude, Dr. Johnson, I'm not even kidding you, that was the guy's name. And he's like, what do you mean you want my relatives? You can't have any of my family members. And the Plague Doctor looks at him again and is like, oh, my bad. I don't mean like your family, like your children. No. I just want some monkeys. Go get me a chimp, bits. Like, I'm not even kidding you, granted, he didn't say bits, but he did tell the Black Doctor to go get him some relatives, and he meant gorillas. Savage. Yeah, nah. You can do some fun stuff with this one. I would not recommend this as your entry point. It's just not the best all around, but I will say it's a good B tier. It's a pretty good B tier in terms of getting somebody into the SCP fandom, and it's probably a good entity to get you into. Next up isn't really an entity, it's more of a phenomena. SCP-087, and I know it says 087B, but we're going to get into that. SCP-087 is simply the Bottomless Staircase. Imagine this, you're going through your college campus. No, not even college campus. Imagine you are going down a staircase. And for some inexplicable reason, no matter how far you go down the staircase, you will never reach the bottom. That is the sales pitch of SCP-087, the Bottomless Staircase. One thing that I do love about SCPs is that they'll take a simple fear that you had as a kid. Whether it be going down like a large flight of stairs and not knowing when you're going down. Whether it be getting lost in a supermarket, which is another one that we're going to talk about. It takes that and puts this supernatural spin on it. And I know this sounds crazy, but I do really like this one because of the amount of stuff you can do with it. So the story goes, is a man is walking down a flight of stairs, and he finds absolutely zero end to it. He goes what could be 350 meters underground before he starts hearing whispers going on in the dark. Understand, there is no light. He is just illuminating his way with a flashlight. And it just keeps on going down and down. But the farther you go down the staircase, the more supernatural it becomes. Now, if you're anything like me, you're noping the fuck out of there and you're walking straight back up. You see, I have a little theory about the bottomless staircase, is that if you travel up too quickly, you get a form of the bends. If you don't know what the bends are, it's where if you go underwater too quickly and ascend too quickly, you basically just have a brain aneurysm and die. That's why when you're going up after being far underwater, they actually recommend you come up at an angle and not straight up, because the change in pressure in your body can cause some serious damage. So the story goes, something he saw down there spooked him. So he describes it as a pale-faced creature with a unearthly smile, and that's where this picture comes from. I believe that thing was meant to scare him. And so when he ran fast up the staircase, basically caused brain death. Because they were able to get him out of the staircase, but what ended up happening is bro was in a vegetative state and a perpetual state of fear for the rest of his life. That sounds absolutely horrific. Fuck that. Dude, like, serious question though, like, sound off in the comment section. How far would you have to go down the staircase and, like, shit that you would have to witness for you to nope out of there? If I'm going 350 floors underground, dog, I would have noped out at, like, 25. Like, the moment the staircase becomes larger than the building I'm in, I'm getting open the fuck out of there. The one thing I will add is, reportedly, 28 people had to go missing for the SCP Foundation to finally find out what's going on. So clearly this entity, what I think it is, okay? My theory is that the entity that you're seeing is meant to scare you, and when you travel up the staircase too quickly and have a brain aneurysm, that's where it drags you farther underneath the staircase, and it's almost like it uses the staircase phenomena to hunt its prey. It knows it's going to travel to it, but when it tries to escape, it'll kill it. But it relies on you going quickly up the staircase to kill you, and it gives you the form of the bends. That is my theory. That is not confirmed, but that's what I think it is. I really do like this story. It's a simple concept, and it makes the absolute most out of it, and that's where I believe SCP does its best work, and not with, like, super high crazy concepts like we're going to get into in a minute, but I'm going to put it in A tier. I do like SCP-087. Next up, SCP-610, The Flesh That Hates. Listen, I'm going to spoil this one. This one is going to be one of our S tiers because I love this concept, and in my mind needs to be a movie. That's another thing. If you are an aspiring director and you want to make a good fan film, SCP got you because everything is in the free domain. You could make a movie on absolutely everything here. And I'll be real with you right now. I plan on at least being involved in a fan project for SCP-087 because that, to me, you could do a lot with that. But dreams will be dreams. Let's get back to the reality, the tier list. SCP-610 is The Flesh That Hates. It all starts where a mysterious pandemic happens in a little Russin town that was thankfully pretty segregated from the rest of the community around it. You see, reportedly, the pandemic started rather slowly. There was a weird meteorite crash that happened near the place, and what I believe carried a interstellar virus that affects people in a very interesting way. Now, if you're like me and you get involved in like a lot of rabbit holes, it is actually really scary at the thought of if, say, there was a virus that came from a different planet, okay? And it hit our planet, our immune system would be so hilariously fucked because we would have no clue how to fight it. It would be similar to how, like, Europeans brought smallpox to the Americas and it killed, like, up to 20 million Native Americans. It would be like that, but for the billions for us. So the thought of an extraterrestrial virus that comes in on a meteorite and starts infecting people of this little village in Russia, and the only reason it doesn't spread to everybody else is because of how segregated they are. You see, it happened during the dead of a Siberian winter, and they became like super segregated. They weren't communicating with anybody else. Where they started noticing some shit was getting weird is that when this town stopped communicating with suppliers, like all of a sudden all the stores didn't need things to come to it. That is until people started to come there anyways. People had family in this little small town, and then when they visited, they got disappeared. And this is where this story gets really good, and where the SCP Foundation gets pretty bloodthirsty. You see, anybody who has any relation to anybody in this town that could leak what's going on were authorized by the Russian government to ice their entire family relations. If you had a grandmama that was in this little Siberian town, and you wanted to visit her, the Russian government would come in and plug you like a little tiny gnat. You'd be done. That is how SCP can get pretty bloodthirsty, but no. It gets better. You see, the actual virus is characterized as you are going to be getting almost like these little tiny red boils on your skin. And then these red boils are going to change into about the size of like a chicken breast, and they're going to become super raw and painful. And then within the next couple of hours to even a day, your entire limb is going to be mismorphed. The nails on your fingers are going to fall off. Your fingers are going to start melding together like hot wax. Your whole arm, the muscles, the forearm muscles are going to meld into your triceps. Your biceps are going to meld into your forearm, almost like a little gummy chicken wing. And this is where the body horror gets in. I already know, like, one of you cringed at that thought that your arm becoming like a little tiny like piece of gum melding into each other, and you're like a little chicken wing. It gets even worse than that because it spreads up the body, and that happens to your entire figure. People that have come over there, if they didn't realize what they were looking at, they thought the entities were not human. They thought they were aliens. Outside of the slight humanoid structure of having 2 legs, and sometimes even more than that, slight humanoid structure, by the way, they wouldn't have known. Now, where this gets even crazier, and why I love it, is they found that this weird entity has a form of a hive mind where they do have intelligence. When they sent a military unit into SCP-610 into the town, they had to send them basically accompanied by flame drones, okay? Because this thing is so ridiculously contagious that if you show any signs of contagion, you have to be immediately scorched to death. The drones weren't even really meant to protect you. If you so much as coughed out of line, like, think of the great cough of 2020 and you were going through like a store and you coughed a little bit too loud and everybody looked at you like, yeah, no, you do that here, the little tiny flame dog drone is going to kill you. That's how scared they were of how contagious this is, and they were right. This thing is ridiculously contagious. The only reason that this thing didn't spread everywhere else is because of when it happened. Now, when the task force came in wearing full hazmat suits accompanied by these little flame drones and armed personnel, they found that these little flesh creatures were burrowing their little skin into the ground, trying to communicate with, I think, is the meteorite that landed to cause the virus. Because when they go underground, they found like a makeshift church where they would bring like people that were not quite infected yet to this altar, and their skin would mold into like this almost like a spider's web where it would further communicate down further down. And if you're anything like me, at this point you would have been, launch the fucking nukes. We are not keeping these fuckers alive. But the reason that they didn't is because they're worried that if they hit this thing with a ballistic missile, there only needs to be one living cell that survives that is blown up, that is blown far away like shrapnel. And if it infects one person, the entire human race is at risk. So for containment, they basically have the Trump wall in a circle and another circle and a no man's land. Anything that walks out of this town is killed on sight. Most of the people that went in were all killed on sight. The only evidence that they have of going in is the drone footage. I love this one. Please, any aspiring director that may or may not be watching this video, please make something for SCP-610. It is such a good story and is the one I would recommend. Please watch it. It's such a good story. Now we're going to get back into the fun ones. SCP-001 Proposal, the Gate Guardian. Now there's a few SCP-001s, and we'll get into why that is in a second, but we're going to cover the Gate Guardian. The Gate Guardian is a giant golden being. Golden is the best way to describe it. It is described as a being of pure light with anywhere from 4 to 27 different wings. If that does not sound like the most biblically accurate angel ever, I don't know what is. Now, where it gets even more interesting and where SCP kind of gets a little bit crazy with it, is they discovered this thing in the middle of the wilderness. Okay? This giant angel being of light with a flaming sword of Michael, and I do believe that's what this is. I do believe, like, at least in the universe of SCP, I do believe it's meant to be Archangel Michael. I mean, that kind of does make sense. He is stationed in front of a portal that comes out of fucking nowhere, and on the other side, this is where SCP kind of lacks any of, like, well, maybe let's not tell them what it is. They describe it as if you look through the portal, you have 2 trees. You have this massive tree of red fruit, and then right next to it, you have this massive tree of blue fruit with other angel beings walking through and tending to the tree. Yep, if you have slightly more than 2 brain cells that are working, that's the Garden of Eden from the Bible. Like, they have 0 chill. That is what it is. Now, where this one admittedly becomes funny is that anything within a 1 mile radius that has the intention of ill will, make of that what you will, immediately gets struck down with the flaming sword of Archangel Michael. And when I mean by struck down, I mean they have to film this shit happening because it happens so quickly. He will unsheath his sword, whack the enemy from a mile away, disintegrate them into dust within a nanosecond. Like, imagine this. You're sending somebody to go take a video of this thing, and they're in the middle of recording. And they're like, okay, we're about 1 mile and 1 feet out. I'm going to take another step. Dead. Like, bro, imagine filming the gatekeeper of heaven only for him to just vaporize you within a millisecond. That's where I think they get a little bit too crazy with it. Now, there are some stories with the Gate Guardian that do further on in the lore, and I was thinking about covering those in this video, but frankly, I might need a whole nother video going through, like, the iceberg of how different SCPs interact with different SCPs. That's a whole different community. But the Gate Guardian vaporizes just about everybody who walks in. Just about, because people that are pure of heart, they describe a voice of thunder in their head that tells them to turn back. Dog, imagine hearing a voice of thunder that tells you, listen, lil bro, if you don't want to meet the big G, you're going to turn around right now. I'm turning around, fuck that, bro. Another thing that they've tried to do, they tried hitting him with bullets, thermonuclear bombs, technical barrages. He basically treats missiles like a fruit ninja and vaporizes them before they even hit the ground, which is kind of funny. Dude, that's an America. This has to be in America, dude. Imagine America sees an angel guarding the Garden of Eden, and our first instinct is to nuke him. And he just vaporizes our nuke and we say, nope, we were with you all along. I'm going to put this one in, I'm going to say C tier. It's a basic story. That's why I'm just going to say basic story. It's more funny than anything, but I do like the Gate Guardian. Next up, SCP-3008. The Infinite IKEA. Need I say more? I will say more. Imagine, I think I like this one because there is such a childhood fear of mine. I remember being 6 years old, walking through Target, and getting legitimately lost, okay? Now, before you judge me, let's be real here. We all got lost in a supermarket one time. If you didn't, you're weak. Your bloodline's weak, okay? You had good parents. Everybody got lost in a supermarket one time. And this taps into that fear times 1,000. Imagine you're going through an IKEA. We all agree IKEAs are purposely made to be as irnavigatable as possible. But imagine you're going through the aisles, and then you realize the aisles go on forever and ever. And then you're like, okay, time to go back to the entry, right? And then the landscape of the IKEA changes, and then it changes again. And then you turn away, boom, 1,000 more aisles have just been added. You see an exit sign. You go through the exit door, and you enter another IKEA. That is the Infinite IKEA. Now, where it gets even more interesting is that they found that there are IKEA employees in the Infinite IKEA, but they are described as faceless, almost humanoid forms that are pretty harmless until it's closing time. You see, they will try to ask you, hey, do you need anything, any help? They seem to know where you are at all points during the day. But when closing time happens and they'll give you a warning, they will mumble to you, closing time is coming, sir. Please leave. And if you're still in the IKEA after closing time, they mutate into a more aggressive version of that with super strength. And there are stories of their, people fighting off these IKEA associates. And to be frank with you, how many... I've thought about this because I used to work at Walmart. How many associates could I fight at the same time? Legitimately, I've seen a lot of old people, working at Walmart. I think I could take 13. But there's something about them having super strength, I think I'd be cooked. Personally, this is why the concealed carry permit has to come in clutch, at least if you're an American, for you to survive an SCP-3008. Now, where it gets even, where I like the twist here, is that they believe that this Infinite IKEA is more of a pocket dimension. They don't know how it was created, because there's a story of a dude that they were able to pull out of the Infinite IKEA that is from a universe where 9/11 never happened. What a random twist, but in their mind, we never went, in their universe, we never went into war in the Middle East, and 9/11 never happened. And the way they found this out is because when they put him on an airplane to get him to SCP at headquarters, he was like, yo, why do I have to get checked, brother? What happened? And then they had to explain 9/11 happened. What an awkward conversation. Dude, imagine you go into an IKEA and you walk out and then you have to be like, bro, why the fuck do you have to check my bags? It's like, yeah, bro, they blew up the Pentagon! That'd be kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I like that story a little bit. I like this one, dude. I'm gonna put this one on top of A tier, dude. I don't know. I like these types of stories a lot. Now, on to one that I do not like at all. SCP-2845. The Deer God. Okay. This is one I had to drink coffee to explain this one because of just how dumb it is. Okay, so the Deer God is a massive white-tailed deer. Actually, no, yeah, white-tailed deer that is green, that has the face of Dr. Manhattan with large black antlers with a circle that looks like you know that one, the Throne Angels. I'm gonna put a picture right here. The wheel within a wheel. It has one of those, kind of just always chilling in between the antlers. So yeah, crazy. He came to Earth while riding a comet like it was a horse, and he crash landed in the ocean and then walked on the ocean floor onto land. This sounds like an Adventure Time skit, and is described as near God level threat. So his whole thing is that he can transmog matter into anything. He was able to turn the nitrogen in the air into frozen hydrogen. He was able to change the trees that are around him into a fortress. He changed the SCP task force that was hunting him into pillars of leather, with the inside is just a huge brain. Why do you have to get so weird with it? What else? He uses these pillars of leather as almost like a psychic guard rail that nobody... Basically a force field, basically. Where it gets even crazier is the containment procedure. Now, I haven't gone through a lot of the containment procedures purely because up till then, they lock the Plague Doctor up like he's a normal prison inmate. The gatekeeper, they don't even lock him up. They just don't let people fuck with him. Everything else, you just kind of leave it alone. The Deer God, they have to lock basically in a large octagon within an octagon within an octagon. I'm not kidding you. It is 8 octagons inside of each other that they have to perform a religious ritual or sacrifice. It's so dumb, dude. Like, it's dumb for the sake of being dumb and extra, and is definitely one. Like, if this was my first SCP, I would have never have gotten into it because of just how needlessly complicated they've made it. And I understand, it's part of the point. It's meant to be dumb. I hate that. That's some Sea-Hulk reasoning right there. D tier. SCP-173, the Killer Statue. This is one that's probably one of the most popular. It is a statue where if you break line of sight with it, it kills you instantaneously. And when I mean by instantaneously, I mean like, okay, imagine me and you are in a staring contest, okay? We are fighting for our life, okay? Keep your eyes open. Boom, dead. Dead, okay? You blinked, the statue came up to you, snapped your neck, you're dead. You are now a vegetable, or you're meeting the big G. That is what this thing does, okay? So when they have to contain this thing, they kind of just have to keep round-the-clock supervision on it. And when I mean by round-the-clock, I mean even the people that are on the camera have to keep a constant line of sight with it because it's been known to disappear out of its containment. When they have to go in and clean this fucking thing, because yes, somehow it just spawns in shit. Like, it just spawns in random filth on the walls. Or it kills somebody. They have to bring in at least 2 janitors. One of them has to constantly watch the figure. And every time they're about to blink, they have to tell the janitor, Jim, let me blink! And then you blink. And then you go back to cleaning. And then they take turns. So for example, if I'm in charge of looking at it, and you're in charge of cleaning, and I blink and you're not looking at it, he just snapped both of our necks. You might get a chance if you hear me scream when he cracked my neck, and now you're viewing that weird-ass statue over it, and you're just nervously fucking cleaning. Like, that is this thing. And I like it. It's dumb, it's simple, but it gets the job done. I like it. A tier. SCP-173, and it's probably one of the most adapted in the SCP fandom in terms of games. I like it. SCP-682, the Indestructible Lizard. Okay, so, they say lizard because it looks like a crocodile. It's described as having a skeletal face of a crocodile with the mane of a horse, with, the build of an alligator. Yeah, fuck that. It also is described as having human-level deductive reasoning and has the ability to have conversations, which is terrifying, by the way. And not just that, it's basically Maharaga. Thank you for everybody who watches Jujutsu Kaisen and can understand the Maharaga reference. And what I mean by that is anything that can hurt this thing, it'll immediately adapt within the next time you try to use it. So they've deducted that the only way that they can think about killing it is you have to kill it all in one blow. You have to hollow purple this motherfucker. That is the last Jujutsu Kaisen reference I'm going to hit with this. But yeah, you have to basically nuke this thing on impact. And they've tried that, but guess what? They fucked up the first time, and they hit this thing with a tactical nuke because they didn't want to destroy half the damn country. And it survived because it has the ability to regenerate itself off one cell that survives, and now you can't nuke it anymore. They have also tried to kill it with the statue, and I'm not even kidding you. So, the rules of the statue is you have to keep a constant line of sight. So, basically, the crocodile knew this and had a constant staring contest with the statue, where the task force that was holding him, the SCP unit, had to snipe his eyes out of his skull with a 50 caliber sniper rifle, which, I'm sorry, not everything has to be 50 caliber, and they use that a lot. Not everything has to be outrageously powerful to be written, okay? Like, that's a bit much. But they sniped the eyes out of this thing's skull, and the statue then goes to snap its neck. And then this thing grew eyes all over its body, where it then formed a circle around the statue so it couldn't try to snap its neck again. And these eyes also were regenerating as soon as you hit it with a sniper rifle, or were just actively ballistic resistant, which is dog, what? Like, that's the whole stick. He is an intelligent crocodile that is impossible to kill. And the only reason that I'm not going to put it super high is because there's just not a lot that you can do with that story-wise. And it's more funny than anything. SCPs, a lot of the time, are more funny than, like, they expect to be. Next up, SCP-096, the Psy Guy. Again, quite possibly the most popular. I remember playing a Minecraft mod, and this was part of it. I remember watching Sky Does Minecraft, the real ones remember that. And he did an SCP mod, and SCP-096 was part of it, the Psy Guy. Now, all you need to understand about this guy is that he is a giant, white, anorexic creature with arms as long as LeBron James. It is a massive thing. Not actually as long as LeBron James. It's described as having arms that are about 2.5 meters. Actually, it might be a LeBron James long arm. I just know he a massive sprawled out creature that looks like a Holocaust survivor. The origin of this creature is that an SCP containment team was dispatched to the Himalayan mountains after a bunch of people went missing, and they found this thing in a field position at the top of the Himalayan mountains. Now, they came up to it, it was covering its face. They didn't realize that it was doing that for their protection, because basically SEAL Team 6 and Delta Squad came up to this thing basically saying, "What the fuck is this, bro?" And they saw its face. It then proceeded to murk the entire team, and I quote, turn them into a bloody mist. Vaporized them, basically, with nothing more than its razor claws and whatever the hell it brings. His whole stick is that if you see its face, it'll kill you. Now, one person on the Delta Force was able to figure this out, and they were able to put a bag on it. After hitting it with aerial barrages, basically a Hellfire missile, and multiple hits with a .50 caliber machine gun, it cannot die. It constantly regenerates with crazy pain tolerance. Now, if that was it, that would probably be a C tier. Now, where they get crazy with it, and why I kind of like it, is it doesn't matter if you see its face or you see a video or a photo of its face, because a few weeks later, when they had it contained, and I shit you not, underwater in the Marianas Trench, somebody was able to find a photo of a hiking retreat that was taken on the same weekend at the Himalayan mountains, where you can see the face of the Psy Guy in the background, and then this thing clawed out of the Marianas Trench, went over 150 miles across the globe, and killed this man's entire family and him because they saw its face. They actually made that into a short film on here. Just look up SCP-096 short film. You'll probably find it. Really good, by the way. Probably one of my favorites on here. A tier. I think A tier is a valid one. I really do like that one. Next up, SCP-001, the Scarlet King. Now, there's multiple 001s. There's Scarlet King, the Gate Guardian, When Day Breaks, and the Toy Factory. I'm only covering 2 of them purely because these are some of my favorites, and there's a reason that there's multiple 001 proposals. And I do believe it's because of the Scarlet King. The Scarlet King is essentially the devil of the SCP universe. He is described as an otherworldly entity, eldritch god-level being of chaos, death, and torture. All the bad stuff in the world. Like, he is literally the god of evil. Like, that is his thing. He has multiple different cults and factions that worship him only. And if I ever do an iceberg for SCP, if this video does well, we can go into that. But all you need to know is he has 6 brides that were impregnated during a Scarlet King ritual. And he had a kid. And we'll talk about the kid in a second. But the Scarlet King is described as a being of full chaos that thrives off being understood. What does that mean? So what they found, SCP-001, the Scarlet King, is the only SCP that has gone from being considered Keter, dangerous, cannot be contained, to safe. The reason that they did that is they found out that the Scarlet King gets more powerful the more you understand him. He is a cognito hazard. Just knowing he exists and trying to understand him actively manifests him into our reality. He is a being, he is more of an idea and a concept that is going to be wielded into being by us trying to understand him. And we are effectively creating him. by just trying to research him. So what they did is they made multiple 001 proposals to keep it secret what the actual proposal was, so that way we understand less and less of him. There is purposely almost zero knowledge kept on the Scarlet King, purely because they want to make it difficult for him to manifest into our world. They've also unalived a lot of people that were in charge of studying him for that reason. But that doesn't excuse bad writing. I'm just going to put him at the bottom of C tier. Like, part of his stick is not knowing about him. Sorry for the weird cut, everybody. Yeah, my phone died. I film all this on an iPhone, if you can't tell. And, yeah, it kind of got fucked up. But we're going to get back to it. So we ended off with the Scarlet King. Scarlet King I ended up putting in C tier because I think, yeah, it's cool that the more you know, like, the more he manifests into our reality. However, I feel like, personally, in the original story, it is a way of just not getting into the details of it. And I want to know more about the Scarlet King because I think he's a very interesting character. And I'm not a fan of cognito hazards. I'm just not. That's just not my thing. So I'm going to put him in C tier. I think that's valid. Next up, SCP-999, the Tickle Monster. The Tickle Monster is his son. It is his boy. You see, without getting into crazy SCP lore, all you need to know is one of the cults of the Scarlet King had a ritual where a couple women got pregnant. And a few of these women gave birth to SCPs themselves. Most of them really, really bad. Every single time one of his wives gave birth and a disaster happened around the world, an SCP was born. And it kept on getting worse and worse and worse. And one of those babies that was born was SCP-999, the Tickle Monster, a little orange blob of good vibes. And I do quite literally mean good vibes. Without getting into what happened with the other wives, that can be a different video. SCP-999... I mean, I already said it. So, he is basically, think of Blob from Monsters vs. Aliens, but orange, and talks like a baby. That is my headcanon of what he is like. He's a little gelatinous little good boy. That is, his supernatural ability is he has the ability to make you happy instantaneously. No more text messages. Stop it. But, that's really his thing. Like, when people are depressed that their best friend got ripped to shreds by the Psy guy, that they just watched their brother get their neck snapped by the statue, or they just are suffering from some traumatic shit that they saw in the flesh that hates, they will let the Tickle Monster be by them, and all of a sudden they're cured of their PTSD and depression. I'm not even kidding you. That is the ability of him. And it's also pretty suspected that they believe that the Tickle Monster is the key to defeating the Scarlet King, and they're studying him till now. But he's basically like, he's just a ball of good vibes. He's a good boy. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. In terms of how much I like him, however, I mean, like, I can't put him in A tier. Like, he's just a good vibe boy. I think he's more interesting than his dad. I'll put him in B tier. I think that's valid. And now, finally, we have SCP-2935 Death. This was something that I didn't even know was a thing until I started doing research in the SCP again. This might even be a fairly new one, I'm not exactly sure, but all you need to know about this SCP. It is more of a phenomena than it is an entity. You see, they found a cave in the middle of the wilderness, and people thought this cave was pretty weird, because when you looked into the cave, it was a perfect mirror image of the nature that was around it. So, for example, this cave is in the middle of the woods. They look at the cave portal. It is the woods, just minus them. So, the interesting part comes into play is that there is slight differences, however. Imagine the forest, or like grassy hills, but like minus the saturation of color, just like kind of gray and meh looking. They send a task force into SCP-2935 called the Death, and they come back with everything is dead. They send a team of 32 operatives into this portal, taking samples of grass, like biological tissue, but everything is dead. Every person, every animal, every bit of bacteria, every decomposer, everything is dead at the cellular level. The cells that are responsible for self-cannibalizing and decomposing are also dead. So, this is pretty interesting. They aren't exactly sure what happened. All they really know is that everything dropped dead at around October 17th at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, they decide to go look at their universe's SCP Foundation. They think that this might be a pocket dimension or even like another dimension that is right next to them. So they look at this version of the SCP Foundation. They found out that yes, there was some like SOS signals that were launched, but nothing that came out conclusive. All they really said that something happened that caused a large death reaction. For example, one of the SCPs that is known to be unkillable died too. So whatever happened, it was so powerful that it just caused everything to die. And then came the bombshell. You see, this team of 32 people came across basically a little voice memo from one of the people in this universe that went into their own version of the portal. So this universe has their own version of the O-Death portal. And they found out, or they suspect at least, that the way that that universe died is that somebody pulled death from another multiverse into this one. So for example, if I send you into the portal of O-Death, and you come back, you are carrying basically the Grim Reaper on your shoulder, and he's going to kill everything in existence if it's left in here for too long. At this point, no operatives from this O-Death portal have been able to make it back. The moment that SCP Foundation was able to find out that this happening, they sealed them all in with concrete steel bars, and they had 2 watchtowers outside of it. If anybody approached the portal from the other side, or if anything was about to break through, they were ordered to kill on sight and throw them back through the portal. So yeah, pretty fucking bad. I will say the story is pretty interesting, and I do like the concept that they go into, and I'm not even really doing it justice because there's so many things that they do get into with the idea, but I do like the idea of personification of death. The Grim Reaper is like a multiversal plague that is spread through whenever we cross-contaminate and travel into a multiverse, into like our own universe, and it's kind of the multiverse's way of making sure we don't interact because they'll just purge everything that we're a part of. And the fact that they were this close to bringing death to this universe, I kind of like it. Like, it's a fun idea. And I'm going to put it in S tier purely because of how they play with this concept that can go into play later on. I'm going to put it at the bottom of S tier. Practically tied with the IKEA. Practically tied with them. And there you go. That is going to be my SCP tier list. Thank you everybody who's been tuning in so far. Remember, I rank these purely by how much I enjoy them. It is meant to be subjective, and it's meant to be a good starting point for anybody who wants to get into the SCP lore. It's definitely worth it. Definitely kind of in the same vein as like a creepypasta. Thank you everybody who has been following me thus far. It means the absolute most to me. And here's to potentially getting to 10,000 at some point. Thank you everybody who's been joining so far, and I will see you all next time. Adios.